Hey, talk about an all-star Zoom call. Take a look at the faces on your screen right now. You might recognize a couple. We got Marc dos Santos from Vancouver, and the other Bob Bradley from LAFC. And the other face that you're seeing right now, our guy Vince LaRosa from LAFC.com. Vince, you have had the pleasure of knowing both of these guys and hanging out with them at the same time.
I have. I don't know if they can say the same about me because I am always bothering them with questions, but I have. And Sheldon, thank you so much for bringing me in on this. Bob, Marc, it's great to see both of you digitally. I think if I want to get started, my first question to both of you would be, one is, in this time when you're staying home safe, how are you staying sharp? And sub-question, is there any hobbies that have come up? Because lately my Instagram feed is filled with a bunch of bakers. Everyone seems to learn how to bake bread during a pandemic. So I want to know, have you guys picked up any hobbies or any old hobbies you've started again?
Cooking. Cooking has been a hobby. I've been around a family before all of this happened, and a good Italian family that has taught me how to cook. And that's my big moment at night. It's a moment that changed my wife's life, but it's been good for me. And also I've Sheldon guitar, trying to play guitar a little bit more. Apart from that, watching games, watching teams that I identify with and I like to watch. It's too bad that I always know the result before the game starts. So it changes a little bit the dynamic of how you watch the game, but that's what I've been up to. And a lot of time with my kids. I've been away from them for a lot of time, so now it's great to be with them and just spend some time with the kids. That's my hobbies and what I've been up to lately.
Well, good, Marc. You're lucky. I'm gonna say lucky because the time when your kids are young, those are special times, and so we are another few chapters ahead of you. So the way we get that is with FaceTime, and obviously Michael being in Toronto, Ryan and Andy, as everyone knows, in Vancouver, Kerry in Germany. Our best moments in the day involve videos of the kids and just seeing what they're up to, seeing the way Michael, Amanda, and Andy and Ryan interact, come up with ideas, keep busy. That part of it is awesome. So that's been important during this whole stretch, just finding ways to stay connected as a family, stay connected as a team, and then also just reaching out to friends from different places around the world, knowing that everybody's in this together. So those are the things that have really occupied my time.
Wanted to follow up here because I know that obviously you guys are staying busy with the families and keeping yourselves busy at home, taking up new hobbies. What about the work side? Vince tells me, obviously working with both of you are very strategic, very into your preparation for the game. How are you staying busy on the work side of things right now?
I mean, I'll jump in first on this one because obviously I wish that Marc had participated, and a year ago he would have. But now that we're all Zoom experts, we've had a couple of really good sessions amongst the coaches where I ask everybody to find a few clips, whether it's from our game or other games that they've been watching, try to connect some dots in terms of ideas that we think are important in the way we play. I've asked them in certain moments to see if they can find situations in training that mirror some of the things that we see in the games. And then when we get on our Zoom call, everybody gets a chance to lead the discussion, share the screen. It leads to an ability to stop the clip at a certain spot, discuss everything from positioning to ideas on what can happen, where the ball can go. So these kind of discussions, which, look, last year, Marc was such a big part of these discussions. We'd show up every morning pretty early and discussions would start about training, about games, about things going on around the world, styles of play. And I think we all just loved what went on every day. And so we just try to recreate those kind of situations as best we can. Miss you though, Marc.
Yes, we miss you. I miss you a lot. The time we've been in the so-called war room in LA is a moment that I want and try to recreate in Vancouver, because I think it's the moments where you grow the most as a coach. At least for me, it was where I grew the most as a coach, and it's very similar to what the days we have here with the Whitecaps staff. We every week between the analysts, the coaching staff, we try to get together and think about moments of the game that some teams we want to mirror in some teams, and we want to look like. So there's maybe 4 or 5 clubs right now that we're watching a lot in different moments of the game that we try to take some clips to watch in our first 2 games, what worked, what didn't work, what was good about our model and not. And I think that the moments where you're together with all the staff and everybody involved, and some ideas are thrown in and some clips are shared, this is when you get closer to your main idea as a coach. And that's the same thing we've been doing. That's our work. The only thing we could do now is we cannot prepare the next game. We can't over-evaluate the last game because we've done that a lot. So now we're trying to really look at a lot of games from other teams and try to get ideas to grow when everything starts again.
Good. I know you've talked a lot about Flamengo and the way they play and some of their ideas. Give me some thoughts there.
Yeah, no, it's I was able. One of the positive things about being in this position, like you said, you connect with people that you didn't connect a lot or didn't call as many times before. And I had the opportunity to have a long talk with the Flamengo coach, Jorge Jesus, and about his ideas of how they won Libertadores and how they went about the game, you know. And it's a team that I think has a lot of principles that I believe in as a coach. You know, it's a very aggressive team without the ball, normally set up in a 4-4-2, but very aggressive without the ball, want to recover the ball as fast as they can, very vertical going to goal. So there's similarities, I would say, to what Liverpool does under Klopp when they win the ball. That strong reaction to the loss of possession, a lot of things that he did in Benfica, in Sporting, able to recreate at Flamengo, and the way he just brought the club alive again. That was a big club sleeping, really intrigued me. And watching Libertadores last year, there was a lot of moments that I became a fan of.
We constantly try to evolve, and one of the things that we've talked about this year is still the balance between moments in a game where maybe you have control and moments in the game that are fast and more dynamic and where there's less control, and trying to really find a good understanding as a team of how to be as fluid as possible going back and forth between these ideas. Mm-hmm. I know that, you know, so many teams talk about pressing and they do really good preparation. And so that means that if you're very scripted with how you play and very predictable, you're easy to press. And your ability then to play quickly when you win the ball and not require the same starting points every time. This type of natural, free-flowing ability for us is something that I think is special. Honestly, I'm not sure if you say to me which teams balance the two the best, Marc. I'm not even sure who I'd say, because teams tend to be either more one or the other. Yeah. But I still, and maybe I'm crazy, think that there's some mix of these two that ultimately is what we try to aspire to become. And so I'm constantly trying to watch games and look for examples of situations where the play, the ideas, the finding of space, the movement, it happens quickly, and it's not something that was just out of somebody's playbook.
Yeah, I think it's the toughest thing to coach. It's finding the right tempo in the game and knowing what the moment of the game is offering you right now. And it's not an easy thing to coach. It's hard.
As a coach, it requires two personalities, right?
Yeah.
Because you got to have a personality in some moments that you want the detail part, but you have to have the other part of the personality that allows the game to go fast and know that some of those details may not happen exactly the way you want. And so this ability, even as a coach, to get across to players that, yes, we have structure. Yes, we have ways we want to do certain things, but in other moments, the game is going to go faster and faster and faster. And then we don't throw the structure out the window, but things are going to require fast decisions and everybody being on the move. And so, yeah, I think sometimes, people say to me, who's the best coach? And maybe my answer these days is the best coach is some mix between Guardiola and the detail and the very, very specific ideas on how he wants his team to play, and then Klopp in the dynamic way and the tempo and just the way they can push the game. And so if you can mix the personalities of the two as a coach and somehow bring a little bit of all of that out in your team, for me, that's a fun project.
Yeah, it is, for sure.
Bobby actually kind of dovetailed into my question here. And day one, I remember being in the room, and I remember you giving a speech. Marc was obviously there. And I know a lot of the media talked about one thing, and you referenced it, how you've gotten in trouble for one thing you said in the meeting, but I don't want to talk about that. The one thing that I've always stuck with me in that meeting was you said to the guys, you said, bring your personality. And all my years playing soccer, watching soccer, being around professionals, I've almost never heard that, because in my eyes, the sport has gotten more and more micromanaged. But in dealing with Marc also, we would watch Champions League games, Marc, and you'd bring up players and just their mentality. And it wasn't so much about technique, but about, hey, look at the decision he wants to make there. And that's the type of guy he is. So my question to both of you is, in terms of a player and what you're looking for, and especially when you talk about a micromanaged world of soccer, how important is personality?
No, I agree with Bob 100%. And I think, I was talking with a coach, and sometimes we use words like a personality, like the intensity in a player. And we forget that these words are related to their behavior. And this is the personality part I would refer when Bob said that. I think bringing their personality into the field is bringing their ideas, their talent, the courage that they have to do something. And the same when we talk about an intensity in the player. The intensity of the player is bringing an action or doing an action with the intent of being confident about what he's doing. And what I think is, when players are able to be on the field and feel good about who they are, the belief on the qualities that they have, it makes a big change. Sometimes people see cockiness in that and see a player that seems cocky on what he does because of that personality he has. But I think it's key in the big players. The big players bring their personality on the field. And I think that there's a lot of things that I remember from that meeting. It was an important meeting for me also. And from there it set, and maybe we could talk about that later, it set a change in me on how I saw the game and moving forward after being in so many meetings with Bob and the staff. But I agree with you, that moment was a key moment. And yes, players that have and go on the field with their personality and bringing out are the players that make a difference.
You're right, Mark, that just personality comes out in different ways. And I just think back sometimes to when I got to Norway. Stabæk is a small club. The team was made up of Norwegians, one player from Finland, a couple from Ivory Coast, one from New Zealand, an American or two. But what I found out early is, Norwegians are so respectful. They're really good people, but sometimes, especially in the early days, they just don't show any personality. You could tell the funniest story in the world, and they would look at you and go, "Huh." And so I started. As you know, Mark, a lot of days before training, whether it's inside or on the field, you talk to the players. And sometimes people say, well, what do you say before training? And do you prepare it? And yeah, maybe some days you have a few thoughts. But for me, a lot of what I say happens when I look at the group every day, when I size them up quickly as they come out on the field, and I try to take the temperature of each guy. And I try to have different ways at the beginning of training to engage them. And so when I started doing that with the guys in Norway, one of the first things I said is, you guys seem like nice guys, but the way you're going right now, I'm never going to be sure if you're a nice guy or a funny guy or a smart guy, because you don't show anything, right? And in order to be a good team, we've got to have personality. And that personality is coming from you. And you've got to understand what that means every day. And I said one day, okay, and I picked a guy out and I said, all right, it's your turn to tell a joke. And then he didn't even respond. And then it wasn't that I was actually looking to bring him up to tell a joke, but I quickly said, no, I get it. In Norway, you guys don't tell jokes. Come on. But you find ways to engage, because to your point, Vince, a lot of coaches, they're afraid of personalities in teams. I sometimes talk about what it's like for teachers in the classroom. And maybe when a teacher is young and just starts in the classroom and they're worried about keeping control, they don't allow any give and take. And the classroom can be really stiff and rigid, and most likely the kids hate it. But at some point, the best teachers know how to bring the classroom to life and how to bring out personalities. And sure, that means sometimes somebody crosses the line. One of the favorite players that I've ever coached was Christos Stoichkov. And I was told by a lot of people before he came to Chicago, no, this is going to be a problem. No, you won't be able to deal with him. All these things. Nothing could have been further from the truth. Sure, we had tough moments. Sure, I got at him and he got at me. But Christo, man, he was full of personality. He loved the game. There was nothing that ever happened in football anywhere around the world that he didn't come in the next day talking about. He knew, as an experienced guy on the team, that part of his job was to set an example. I remember in warm-ups where you'd be doing a certain thing as a group, like shuffling and swinging your leg out, and maybe the guy next to him wasn't doing it right. He'd take the back of his hand and just smack the guy across the chest and go, no, like this. And so, I've been lucky. I've coached some guys that had such strong personalities, and I loved what they were all about, and I loved what they brought to the team. And then I've always tried to make sure that whenever I work with a group, that we're asking and challenging guys to show their personality.
Obviously, you guys talking about the similarities in your priorities here. I want to look at it now on opposite sides of the ball, because I think a lot of people are interested. You guys spent a season together. How do you go about preparing when Vancouver has LA on the schedule and when LA has Vancouver on the schedule, preparing for each coach?
The preparation is always about understanding the other team, understanding what they're all about, and always that starts with understanding their players. certainly my experiences with Marc, watching his teams before he joined our staff, and then being with him every day, I know how organized his teams are. I know how prepared they are. I know how good a job he does getting guys ready to play and compete. So I'll always make sure that when we're going to play any Vancouver team, that our guys know that, listen, this is going to be a hard game, that they're going to know how we play. They're going to be prepared. They're going to try to do things to make it hard on our best players. They're going to try to do things to not let us dictate a game the way we might against a weaker team. And I just try to make sure that everybody understands what that game might look like, and how well prepared they'll be, and make sure that we're ready.
Bob has helped a lot of coaches that are in the market today. So I'm sure when he prepares against Vancouver, he prepares like every game that LA prepares. So we try to do the same thing. A lot of work and preparation are in every game. Every game that we have especially when we have a full week of training and we could prepare every day towards an opponent, we do the same. You know, we know what LAFC is about. It's clear from day one. It's very clear from day one what LAFC wants to be about and Bob's team wants to be about. And it's a very successful way. I think right now, and Bob, I'm not saying that to put you in trouble or that, but I watch a lot of games in CONCACAF, and I believe LAFC is one of the best teams in CONCACAF. It's clear the idea, what they want to do with the ball, how they want to dictate the game, their reaction to the loss of possession, how far they defend from their goal, and how challenging it is for the teams that win the ball back in their half. Like, if we defend in our half and now we win the ball, what do we have to do with it, and what's going to be in front of us in that moment? So we try to create exercises during the week that are going to put us in situations like that, so we're ready when the game starts.
We're getting close to the end, so I actually have like one more question to kind of round us out, and then we'll probably get you guys out of here. So
all right, Vince, thanks.
We'll do that. Marc, I know you said that you prepare against teams, you prepare against any team that's all the same, you prepare the same way, but there's got to be something special. There's all these connections now between you and LAFC, Bob, you and Vancouver, obviously with Andy. I'm just wondering, it's not a rivalry, but is there something special about Vancouver versus LA, at least from a personal level, maybe not so much in preparing differently?
It is, for sure. On my side, emotionally, I think I said it a lot of times, not only the impact of the right decision I took when Bob spoke with me to go to LA, and after being there, realizing how much it helped me as a person and as a coach, because Bob was always able to challenge me a lot. And today, there's a lot of ways that I used to see the game and how I see it now that has influenced me in a positive way. I spoke a lot about the organization publicly with friends. There's not one bad memory or one bad thing I could say about the club, the fans, the organization, working with the staff and with Bob, everyday training. So everything for me was special and positive. Then it was a decision of career, a decision of family. The only hard part in LA was being without my family. So all of that, when Vancouver came, I just thought it was the right thing for my family, for career. But of course, when you play, or when my teams play against LAFC, there's always something very personal and a feeling of something special, for sure. There's two teams I would say that I feel that is playing LAFC and playing the Montreal Impact. Those are the two teams that are special in my heart, and it's a special moment and a special game. Now, when I say about preparation, is the same level of professionalism that we prepare LAFC, we do it against every team, because our players need to realize how important every game is and how much we need to put the right work against every opponent.
Look, Mark hit all the right points. For me, I mentioned earlier that I had heard a lot about Marc, but our paths had never crossed. But when we were putting our staff together, I just thought that he could bring something different. And from the first phone call where we talked about things, I was convinced that his experience, his personality, everything would really fit in and would add. And so all of us loved having Marc around, and the work that we did, the experiences that we shared, man, those things never go away. And so the one thing in this game is that when you have shared experiences with people, no matter what happens, no matter win, lose, go in different directions, you never forget the experiences you share with people. You know, the commitment that his family made for him to be there. Obviously, I loved when Mary could come out with the kids, or when we saw everybody in Montreal. I saw how important family was, and just what a special family he had. I always call Mary Saint Mary because she's incredible. But I'm lucky because Lindsay's a saint as well. So the respect and the admiration that I had for Marc from working with him, getting to know him, his sense of humor, his integrity, his work, look, that'll never go away. And so, sure, there are days you're on the opposite side. And, you know, when the game is over, listen, even when you've known a guy a long time, it's not like when that game ends, you immediately have like a 2-hour discussion. No chance. Because everybody's emotions in that moment, the game, the result, you put a lot into it. But eventually, with good friends, you get back to real discussions, real conversations, checking on each other. And so to this day, whether it's with a quick message or occasional phone call or the opportunity today, I'm really proud of Marc, proud of his family, and always excited to see him do well and Vancouver do well. Of course, every now and then when they're playing LAFC, yeah, I'm hoping that they play really well and don't get any points. But aside from that, I follow the team, love watching the games, and I know behind the scenes the quality work and the personality that's coming through.
Hey guys, I just want to say, first of all, thank you to both of you for coming on today. This kind of stuff just helping us get through this time at home, and obviously eventually looking forward to when we can get back on the pitch for the real thing, Vancouver versus LAFC. So just want to take this time to say, Marc, Bob, and Vince, stay safe, stay healthy, and all the best to you and your families until we eventually meet again.
All right, guys. Thanks very much.
Hey, Bob, take care, man.
All right, Marc. Best to everybody.
See you later. You too. Right. Take care.